I know we all have busy.
That's
Welcome,
terrific.
everybody. I know everybody has busy days, and I know time is precious, but I want to thank you so much for attending today. Today, we're going to be talking about something called the Employee Retention Credit. So it is a credit that is awarded to employers. Remember, you have to be an employer, and it's best if you have 4 or more W-2 employees, and you employed those employees in 2020 and 2021. So if you're not an employer, this might not be the right place for you to be. But if you are an employee and you would like to tell your employer about this, please feel free to do so. Anybody that has any questions, let me just start off by giving you my phone number as well. My phone number is 602-824-2299, and my email is scott.rulon29@gmail.com. So if you have any questions in the future, you can either call me or you can email me, and I can assure you I am a real and a live person. I've been a CPA for 35 years, and I have also gone through the entire employee retention credit program myself and got a retention credit. That is a government grant, and mine was actually for $26,477. So if that amount is not at least worth your time, you probably shouldn't be here. And so the highest credit that my clients that we worked at have gotten was $397,000. So there's a whole variety of credits sitting inside of there. But most of you, I'm sure you've seen stuff online, you've seen stuff on the news, you've seen that commercial from Innovation Refunds, you've seen the commercials from Mr. Wonderful, wondertrust.com. So you've probably heard a lot about this, but you don't really know what it is. So let me start off by explaining what is the ERC. So the ERC is a stimulus program designed to help those businesses that were able to retain their employees during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was established by the CARES Act, and it is a refundable tax credit, a grant, not a loan, that you can claim for your business. So the important thing about a grant is, guess what? It's not a loan, it's free money. How many opportunities do you get from the government to get free money? And you can claim this based on your business. So the ERC is absolutely available to both small and mid-sized businesses, and it's based on the qualified wages and healthcare paid to employees. So don't miss the fact that it's the qualified wages plus healthcare. So that could be the money that your employer paid for your health insurance. Or it could be if you have a health savings plan or a health reimbursement plan, those could count as well too. So for most employers, we're looking for businesses that have between 4 to 5 on the low end W-2s, that's W-2s, not 1099s, and at the maximum end, 500 W-2s. You could be eligible for as much as $11,000 to $26,000 per employee. Now, I've not seen many get the $26,000 per employee, but I certainly have seen a whole bunch get between that $10,000 and $12,000 mark per employee. So one of the big rumors out there is if I got that payroll protection loan, which by the way was a loan, whether it was forgiven or not, the Biden administration changed the rules probably about a year and a month ago, saying that if you got the PPP loan, you could also get the ERC credit as well. So in the beginning, the two were mutually exclusive, but as we went on, the government changed the rules for that, and now you can actually get both. So I will be honest with you, if you did get a PPP loan, that will slightly reduce your employee retention credit, but that's not a big deal because there's still quite a bit of money out there. So there's a couple ways that we can get this retention credit. Way number one is a reduction in your, what we call your gross revenues, your gross receipts. So that's just the money that you bring into your business. And so what happens is the government looks by quarter for 2020 and 2021, and they compare each one of those quarters to that same quarter in 2019. So for the 2020 period, if your revenue between 2020 and 2019 declined by over 50%, so 50% or more, and for the 2021 period, comparing that to 2019, if that declined by 20% or more, you can automatically qualify to get the CARES credit, or ERC credit as it's more commonly known. But then again, that's not the only way to do it. So you didn't always have to have a decline in revenue. The other thing that you could have had is you could have had some operational changes in your business. Who recalls going into restaurants or businesses and seeing those little dots on the floor saying that we had to distance ourselves by 6 feet? How many of us had to wear those masks, or our employer provided us with masks? And how about those wonderful plexiglass things at either our cash register or our front desk when people came in, so that we could separate ourselves from the customers and the employees? But I'm going to give you, this is not everything, but this ought to give you a good idea about what kind of operational changes do qualify for this. So, any of you have to change your business hours? So if you had to work reduced hours because you couldn't stay open as long as you used to, or you didn't have enough employees, and so you had to reduce your hours, that's an example of an operational change. What if you had your business partially or fully suspended? Well, what's an example of a partial suspension? Well, let's say that I own a restaurant and that I can no longer serve food to the people in my restaurant. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do takeout. So that's an example of a partial suspension. So I can tell you on my end, there were a lot of restaurants. In my case, I did these for a lot of Greek restaurants, believe it or not. One of the things that they couldn't get was like their gyro or their shawarma meat. So if you can't get the product that you're selling, it's very difficult to stay open as a restaurant and sell something. I had another business that was a manufacturer. They manufacture cabinets for homes, and you know what they couldn't get? They couldn't get the hinges for their doors. They would put in an order, and actually took 8 months before the order came in. So they could complete the cabinet, but if you can't put the latch or the hinge on it, it doesn't do very much in installing it in a home. So that would be an example of a supply chain or vendor shutdown. Well, what if you couldn't do everything you used to do? So many of us, we had to reduce the services that we did. So let's say you were an accounting firm and you did bookkeeping or you did accounting offsite at clients' offices. Well, maybe you couldn't do that anymore. And so we all had to learn how to pay extra expenses so we could be on online applications like Zoom or Google Duo or Google Meets, or we had to learn how to log into other people's computers so we could help them with their work. So if I didn't have enough employees, doesn't that mean that the employees that did get to stay, they worked higher workloads? So that's certainly a consequence of what happened with the COVID shutdown. So maybe there were certain departments, if you had a bigger business, that couldn't do everything they used to do. So for example, let's say that your department was the sales or marketing department, and you used to send out sales reps, whether it was in town or out of town, to different businesses to get extra business or to sell additional products to the businesses you already had. So you also had to learn to get online with software like Zoom or Google Duo or Google to learn stuff. Um, Obviously, some of you couldn't visit a client's job site. So pretend like you were in construction and you're a construction worker and you couldn't actually show up to the site. Well, that wouldn't be good because you couldn't build the building or the parking lot or whatever you were working on. Suppliers, well, sometimes we couldn't even get pens and paper. What if you had to, because of that spacing requirement, remember those dots, we had to be 6 feet apart. So what if you had to buy a bunch of cubicle walls in your office just so you could separate employees for social distancing? I know a lot of you, especially like me, if you were an owner, you took on multiple roles and functions. So you were probably working extra time. Well, let's also think about if you worked in a church. So in the state of California, they actually shut down the churches so you couldn't go to church there. Or in Arizona, it was a completely different thing. So different states had different rules. So we also realized that how many of you maybe think about by raising your hand, even though I can't see you, guess what you couldn't do? You couldn't do the same job at home as you might have done from a workspace. So little things like collaborating on projects or estimates, we could no longer sit at a table together. We had to use things like Zoom so that we could talk. And there's certain things that you could do at your workplace that you couldn't do at home. And let's not forget the fact that a lot of kids came home, especially if you have kids in school. That was certainly a distraction from home as well, too. So we had to be really careful there. Lack of travel, lack of group meetings. So my point is here, it wasn't really just about a shutdown in revenue. It's how did my business have to change operationally so that I could qualify and still do business? So remember, let's put that in a nutshell. 2 ways to qualify. 1, if I had operational changes. Way number 2, well, that's if I had a decline in revenue over 2019 by 50% or 20%. So those are the couple ways that I can qualify. The other thing that I wanted to let people know is if you are the owner of the business, your wages do not qualify for the ERC. I found that out the hard way, but that's certainly the case. And the other thing you want to make sure is you are in business by February 15th of 2020. If you weren't in business by that point in time, you don't qualify. So let's just take a look at those qualifications again. So full or partial suspension of business operations or a gross receipts reduction. We've already been over what do we need to qualify if we already took the PPP loan? Okay, so a couple things here. You're going to have to find some things in your file that are probably not at your right hand. You may have put them away in a box or they may be in storage somewhere. But here's the actual documents you're going to need so we can do a complimentary consultation to see if you qualify for ERC. Number 1, if you did get a PPP loan, you need to pull out your original application and the forgiveness paperwork that you got for that. That's one thing that you will have to provide. The second thing you will have to provide is you're going to have to grab your 941s. Now, for those of you that don't know what that is, a 941 is a payroll tax return. And so we will need the quarterly 941s for first, second, third, and fourth quarter of 2020. We will also need them for the first, second, third, and fourth quarter of 2021. In addition to that, we will need to get the payroll runs that reconcile into those 941s. So it's very important that when you look at those payroll runs at the end of the quarter, that the number of the wages matches what's on the 941. So I'll be honest, we've had a couple cases where they didn't match, and we've had to take places like payroll to paychecks and ADP to task because they didn't do the stuff right. And so we've had to go back and fix that. It can be done, but these are the kinds of things you'll need to put together. And the third thing that you will need to put together is you will need to have a copy of your profit and loss. So that's the statement that shows both your revenue and expenses. We'll need that for first, second, and third quarter of 2019, first, second, third, and fourth quarter of 2020, and the first, second, third, and fourth quarter of 2021. So we'll need the first, second, third quarter of 2019, 2020, and 2021. Those are all really important to have, because if we don't have those, we can't calculate your credit. And that's really important. So those are the documents that we need to see if you qualify. The next thing that people often ask about, well, this ERC refund, well, it's been called a grant, it's been called a refund. Is it taxable income? So it is not exactly taxable income, and here's what I mean by that. So in the year that you receive your ERC credit, what we do is we take the credit that you receive and we reduce your current year payroll expenses by the amount of the ERC. So that's easy enough. I mean, so I guess indirectly you will have to pay some tax on it, but how often do you get free money? One of the other questions that I'm often asked is said, hey, Scott, I was in business in 2020 and 2021, but I sold my business in 2022. Well, guess what? If that business is what we call an asset sale, so somebody else bought the assets of your business, you still qualify. So as long as you still have that paperwork, we can send that paperwork to the IRS once we've done the documents that are necessary, and you could still be eligible for that credit. Another question I always get, well, Scott, I'm really worried when the IRS gives away free money. Am I going to be audited for that? Well, here's what I'll tell you. Current statistics, and we capture these, really only 3 out of every 10,000 of these 941X payroll tax returns have actually been audited. So that's very few. And who do you think they're actually going to audit? Well, so there's quite a few people that are getting maybe between $10,000 and $100,000, but there are also some businesses that are getting millions of dollars. Who do you think they're going to audit first? That's right. They're going to audit those businesses that had a lot more revenue and got a lot more in this ERC credit. So some of these businesses are quite large. In fact, would you be surprised to know that the LA Rams and the LA Lakers, they both got the employee retention credit? Now they have payroll in the millions and millions of dollars. They're probably the type of businesses that are going to get audited way before you are. So what I'm not saying don't keep good records, because keeping good records is very important. What I am saying is just keep your records organized, especially the ones you need for this. And the last thing that we'll need for the ERC is, remember we talked about those operational changes? Well, we need to put together a list of all the operational changes that took place, because you're going to have to fill out what's called a 2-page questionnaire. Now, it doesn't take very long. It really took me only like half an hour to fill it out. So for probably an hour or two's worth of work gathering your 941s and your profit and loss statements and filling out the statement of operational changes, it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars for you. Isn't that interesting? So the other thing you want to know that many people are asking, well, when does the employee retention credit end? Well, there's two deadline dates. First deadline date, if you're filing the employee retention credit as a 941X for 2020, the drop dead date on that, or the date it must be in, must be April 15th, 2024. So let's say that one more time, April 15th, 2024 for the 2020 payroll tax returns. And for any retention credit for 2021, that's April 15th, 2025. So knowing that that deadline is coming up really soon, I would strongly urge you to give us a call or send us an email so we can get you started on the process. So remember, for us to check and make sure everything's okay, that costs you nothing. And guess what? If you don't qualify, you pay us nothing. And if you do qualify, we do get paid what is called a contingency fee. Now that's usually between 15 and 25%. Most of the time, it's right around that 15 or 20% area. And what that means is you don't have to pay us until you get paid. Well, that's a beautiful thing. So it really doesn't cost you anything extra. This is what we would call found money. The other thing that I want to talk a little bit about is what kind of states has this been done in? So this is just a small smattering of the states. So certainly it's good in Arizona, California, Connecticut, Florida. So it's good in any of the 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. The other place I want you to realize is we may have some people listening in that live in American Samoa. They might live in the Virgin Islands. They might live in Puerto Rico. Any Commonwealth or protectorates of the United States, like the Northern Marianas Islands, Saipan, guess what? You qualify as well. Now, is that a deal or what? I mean, if it were me, this is one of those things that I would really jump on right away. Don't wait a week before you get back to us. Get back to us today or tomorrow so we can get your process started. The other big question is, well, Scott, if I do all this stuff, do I get my money immediately? I'll be honest with you, it usually takes 6 to 8 months to get your money. In fact, the people that I applied for this back in November, December, January, they are just starting to get their money now. And so I can verify that they've got it because they all call me up on the phone, very excited, and said, Scott, I got my check. Well, that's really exciting. It'd be exciting for me and for you. I also want to let you know that we use a partner in this. In fact, we have a couple different partners. One is called Bottom Line Concepts. Bottom Line Concepts, by the way, has recovered over $5 billion. That's $1 billion with a B for their clients. And we use another group called the Economic Incentives Group, and they've recovered a couple $1 billion. So we use two great back offices to help us with this. And so if we go forward and you're ready to get going on this, I will introduce you to the people we work with at either EIAG or with Bottom Line, and they will help us walk through the process. So I will be your cheerleader. I will help you reconcile things. But I'll tell you, sometimes the biggest bottleneck here is just really simply when we ask for something, please get it into us as soon as possible. I mean, the faster you get it in, the faster we can work on getting you your credit. And then that's what we really want. A lot of you have also had questions. Well, if I get this money, Do I have to spend it on my business? Guess what? You don't. You can use this for whatever you want. If you want to take a vacation, if you want to buy a boat, or even if you want to buy some new computers or some new inventory for your business, this is a great way to do it. So again, this is a grant. This is free money from the federal government. Why wouldn't you want to take the time to fill out the necessary paperwork to get this going for you or your business? This is a great opportunity. So I would urge every single one of you to call us today or tomorrow or in the next couple days. Get that paperwork together that you have in storage, and let's get this together so we can get you your money. I mean, what do you have to lose? An hour putting the paperwork together? So we've done this hundreds of times with clients and people like you. Why wouldn't you want to get started? So before you have a second thought, give us a call at either Gary's number or my number, 602-824-2299, or email us at scott.rulon29@gmail.com. So now's the time. Get your money. And who remembers that famous line from Jerry Maguire? Show me the money. So if you want us to show you the money, let's get your stuff together as soon as possible, and let's just get started. All it takes is a phone call, an email, and putting a few pieces of paper together, and we can get you started on this process. Well, I know all of your time is valuable, and I want to thank you so much for attending. So for those that need to leave now, you're welcome to do that. But those that have some questions, now that we're at the end of the presentation, Gary and I want to be able to answer some questions for you. And the way we can do that, if you want to type some questions in the chat or in the questions and answer section, Gary will read those and he can read those back to me. But I really do urge you, now is the time to get started. Get your paperwork together, give us an email, give us a phone call so we can get started and show you the money. Do you have any questions, Gary, that you've seen in the chat?
Well, I've had a couple of people say they want to set an appointment. They typed a Y in the chat box. So if you want to set an appointment with Scott, type a Y in the chat box and we'll get back to you afterwards. Also, I did put a link to your Calendly, to your calendar on there, the Calendly link. If anyone wants to set a no-charge appointment with Scott, please use that or contact us. You have all our information. It's in the chat box. You can call Scott on 602-824-2299. That's right, isn't it? Yep. Or you can call me on 888-894-2929. The questionnaire will pop up, apparently, so we do this on Trust here from Zoom, at the end. If it doesn't, for any reason, it's a very simple questionnaire too. It's not as long as the IRS one, so it will take you 5 minutes to fill it out, if that. Yeah, if you don't see it at the end, send me an email and I'll shoot one over to you, but it should pop up at the end, okay? And we'll, anyone that doesn't get it for any reason at all, if there's any glitch there, just let me know. Shoot me an email at garyc@eliteprospeakers.com. It's up in the chat, but I'm going to put it up again. Yeah, if you have any questions at all, I think Scott covered that pretty thoroughly, but if you have any questions at all, anything that we've missed, then let us know now while you're on the line. I'm just going to put my email in there as well.
So, and it's really important here to leave us a real email and a real phone number.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you don't do that, we can't contact you. We're not going to try and sell you anything else. That's not what this is about. This is legitimately about showing you the money and showing you how you can get it. So I will tell you the IRS document for this Care Credit Act, especially for the ERC, was 7,800 pages. If you want to read through 7,800 pages and apply for your own credit, you're certainly welcome to do that. but let us streamline the process for you. Schedule a time on my Calendly link. Leave me a legit phone number. I promise you I'm a real person. I live in Glendale, Arizona. I've done this credit for hundreds of people now, as has Bottom Line and EIAG. And we're really looking forward to help you, because at the end of the day, it's really all about you and getting you the money you deserve, especially if you got shut down during COVID. I'm sure of us could use a few extra bucks in their pocket. So why not just take that extra step, give us a call, email us, hit that Calendly link. That actually goes to my live calendar. Really, I mean, I've had lots of people schedule appointments there, and guess what? I call you back when you request. So please give me a legitimate phone number. You will talk to me, Scott Rulon, CPA for 35 years, and I look forward to speaking with you and helping you and getting you the money that you deserve.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. That was very informative. And we're going to sign off now, and the questionnaire should appear. But if for any reason it doesn't, then let us know. Shoot me an email. My email's up on there, and I can just email you one. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. We appreciate it. And as promised, we've come right in at 30 minutes. So we'll take it from there and, yeah, fill that questionnaire out. And, yeah, hopefully you qualify for that $25 gift card, which is pretty nice. Anyway, speak to you all soon. Any questions, let us know. Thank you very much, Scott.
You're welcome.
And bye for now, everyone.